getting on for a year now, since it happened in the SS Buria. Let's talk about your trauma. We're heading across the ocean from Japan to Great Britain.
Renoski, I'd rather not talk about my trauma.
When a bizarre series of coincidences led to those tragic events, I thought I lost my best friend forever.
I must have been unconscious for a long time. When I awoke, I was lying on a bed. It was a narrow little room. There was a posy of flowers by the window, by the pillow. Posy of flowers?
Posy.
Picked up posy?
Yeah.
I thought posy was a type of flower. It doesn't matter. It took me a little to realize that I was in the cabin of a ship. I slipped out of the room and headed up onto the deck.
Shady said sucks that one girl still thinks she killed Ryu.
Yeah, I said that. That's crazy. Like she was extradited to Russia against her will. Like she was trying to leave the country for her personal safety and was forced to go back because she murdered somebody.
She didn't murder somebody.
The authorities. That's what I'm saying. Like Sholmes is directly responsible for a girl to be forced to a living condition that she is not happy with. He knew that he was alive. Like, he could have been like, listen, girl, like, it's fine. He's not dead. You can run away.
Shady said, send that poor girl a letter at least.
Right?
Were you already suffering from amnesia at that point?
Yes, I didn't know what had happened or where I was. And there was just a voice in my head. There's something to do. There's something no one else can know about. Go to Great Britain. Your task awaits you there. It was a calling I couldn't ignore. It held me relentlessly. Out on deck, I saw that I was on a huge steamship and we were docked at a larger port. It must have been Hong Kong.
Yes, it must have been. Presumably just before they were due to carry your body off the ship.
I had no idea of the situation, but I did have a feeling that this was in some way my last chance. So I concealed myself amongst the disembarking passengers and went ashore. Then I disappeared into the crowded streets of that foreign port city. So I could plan my onward journey to Great Britain.
Journey to Great Britain.
Just under a year ago, with all my past memories lost to me, left behind in Hong Kong. Everything was foreign to me, the sights, the sounds, the smells. My head reeled. I was truly at a loss.
Shady, I guess you were saying send a poor girl a letter at least so she can kill Ryu? You mean Kazuma? For real, later date. Think she'd be justified at this point.
I realize now that I'd escape as a dead man with nothing but the clothes on my back. Money, of course. Oh, how terrifying for you. Luckily, though, I had 2 feathers in my cap.
Yeah, you did mean Kazuma? Okay. One being your knowledge of English, I suppose.
That's right. Back of that, I was able to pick up some words as a deckhand on a cargo ship. Some work. Eventually, after calling at countless ports, I finally arrived at Dover. That must have been some 3 months ago now.
Your formidable tenacity of purpose showing itself again. I mean, the man had lost his memory and had literally nothing to his name. But he still managed to make his way to London on the opposite side of the world.
Of course, I had no idea why I'd move heaven and earth to get here at that point.
So how did he end up becoming Lord Van Zeek's apprentice then?
That can only be called an extraordinary stroke of luck, really. You see, I was stopped at the border because I had no paper. It took me straight to Scotland Yard. By sheer coincidence, Lord Strongheart was there to attend a meeting. That's when the second feather in my cap came into play. Would that been your knowledge of the law? Yes, exactly. Lord Strongheart was curious about an Eastern and with intimate knowledge of British law. He took me back with him to the Supreme Court, assigned me to the prosecutor's office.
And then 9 days ago, you finally got your memory back, after the trial involving Drebber.
Yes, I did.
Your father? Let's talk about your dead father. Ever since I first met you at Yume, you talked about your dream.
Mark my words, Rudosuke. I'll be chosen as a visiting tutor to make my way to Great Britain someday.
Did you know the entire time about what happened to your father here?
16 years ago. When my father left on that exciting trip to Great Britain, I was just a boy. He has the same exact haircut. I took a photograph together the day before his departure. Last memory of him. What I remember most about my father is his unswerving sense of justice. 6 years after he left, a gentleman called at our family home. He told me that Genshin, my father, had taken ill in England and passed away. It was Professor Mikatoba, my father's son. Oh my! Ever since then, the professor was very good to me. He even helped to fund my university education at U. I'll be forever in his debt. But nevertheless, I just couldn't bring myself to believe what he told me. Oh. Then one day a letter arrived at your house from Britain. There was no indication of the sender, so I opened it, assuming it was an acquaintance of my father. What I read in that letter changed my life entirely.
What did it say?
It said that my father had been a mass murderer and that the writer cursed the Asogi name. Oh no! As a result of that letter, I found out that what had been hidden from me all those years. Presumably the letter was sent from relative to us. If whoever had been a member of the judiciary, he could have been present at that close trial. The letter revealed that my father had been sentenced to death, executed for being a killer.
I'm so sorry you had to find out that way.
I imagine the British government did its very best to silence whoever sent that letter. As someone who knew the truth couldn't bear the resentment, always going to be a problem. But still, it could have been written by anyone. Why would you believe such a thing? There was a newspaper cutting included with the letter. It was the first I've ever heard of the professor. And its terrible killing spree. Why would somebody spitefully send a newspaper clipping being like, this person's terrible, to this other person? That's such a weird, like...
Did it to the son of the person.
It was meant to go directly to his dad, to himself. It was... I thought it didn't have somebody... Did it not have a sender, or did it not have a recipient?
I think it didn't have a
I
recipient.
thought it was sent for his father to read for Mick.
It was just sent from Britain. It didn't say who it was to.
Oh, okay.
Where is it? Yeah, no indication. Oh, it just says no indication from the sender. It doesn't say that it didn't have. So it might have said to Kazuma.
Yeah, maybe letters weren't sent to specific people, and it was just like the family. Like it might have just been addressed to the Mikotova household. Well, what did my father have to say about the letter? Couldn't bring myself to show it to him.
What? Why not?
Because he deliberately concealed the truth from me by telling me my father was taken by a fatal illness. Fatal illness being murder. It couldn't have been easy for him, and he'd done it out of consideration for my feeling. So instead, I show him the letter to Judge Jigoku.
Ah, to the other visiting student.
He faltered for the briefest of moments, but then he just laughed the letter off. In that moment, I saw it on his face. He was undeniably shocked, shaken momentarily before recovering. A year later, my bereaved mother succumbed to the strain of grief. She too passed away. That's when I made up my mind that one day, without fail, I would cross the seas to Britain, seek the truth for myself. Truth about my father, Genshin Ashoki. And I wouldn't let anyone stand in my way. Oh, Kazuma-sama. What we learned today could turn things completely on their head. We've been here for like half an hour. Kazuma just likes to talk. My gosh.
I think 20 minutes.
It was an impressive piece of lawyering, Ryunosuke Naruto.
Lord Van Zeeks isn't the Reaper, you know. I almost don't want to believe it myself, but it turns out that Inspector Gregson himself, the victim, was...
It's clear that the Inspector was behind the Reaper's activity all along.
What? You mean you knew?
The real question is who's been giving orders to the Inspector? Yes, Barak Van Zeeks is the real Reaper. And I know that 10 years ago it was him who decided my father must be a mass murderer and sent him to his grave. No, he was merely saying that justice was done as the law dictates. He's not to blame. Ultimately, it's people who condemn people. The law is just a tool that they use to do it. When a man condemns another, he must take responsibility for his action. Of course he must. But I know for certain, my father would never have taken another man's life.
Kazuma.
On the contrary, my father's life was taken by the Reaper.
Is that it? No, we need to present something, I guess?
Show him the Asogi papers.
Kazuma, what do you make of this?
There's only one place where defense lawyers and prosecutors should discuss everything. The courtroom. So it seems you're still confused by the situation. That's what I make of it. Oh, I'm sorry for showing your dad's last will and testament.
I get the feeling my friend's always going to have the edge over me, isn't he?
Oh, gosh. How rude. That was genuinely very rude of Kazuma. Like it's like your dad's, your dad's final writing.
He didn't know what it says. It's in Japanese.
That was, man, that's such a missed opportunity. They could have included a short, like, well, I appreciate you trying to show me my dad's last will and testament. I do strictly believe we should keep evidence to ourselves, which is not even going to happen because we do have to show him something.
Yeah, okay. So what are we showing him?
I don't know, the picture? I don't know.
What picture? This picture?
Yeah, just go. I don't, at this point.
We have we have like 30 pieces of evidence. You aren't really gonna go through everyone, or we don't have 30. We have like
fine. I'll think about it.
18.
But like, Yeah, I don't think we have that many. Go next. Go down
We have
one.
20.
Go down one. Go down one. Keep going. Sure. Try
Notice
that.
board?
No. Like, I don't even know what. Like, the picture of them hanging out. Go next to the little key winder.
This?
Yeah, I guess so.
Nope, it's not that.
No. Is it the gun? No. Why would
Nope,
it be?
not the gun.
Keep going. Is it the wig?
No.
What screen is it on?
Second.
Okay, so go to the second screen. Okay. Is the thing on the clipboard, is that the autopsy report?
It's autopsy.
Yeah, show him that.
This came up in the trial, didn't it? Something a little dubious, I mean. The fact that no time of death was recorded on Inspector Gregson's autopsy report.
Yes, there were some unexpected turns in the courtroom earlier.
Oops.
Suggestion came up. What?
I didn't mean to hit the button. I hand bumped the table.
The suggestion you came up with certainly took everyone by surprise. The idea the victim died the previous day at some other location is quite something.
Well, considering when the pocket watch had stopped, the scorch marks on the candle, it's certainly a distinct possibility. The evidence and scene both point to it.
To be honest, it bothered me too. So I paid a visit to the autopsy room earlier. The coroner responsible wasn't there, but I got a name. It's Dr. Gory. If it wouldn't trouble you, Kazuma-sama, we'd very much like to speak with the coroner too. Of course, the last thing I want is for anything to be brushed under the carpet. Scotland Yard's autopsy laboratory behind Lowgate Cemetery.
Lowgate by Barclay Prison, you mean?
Ah, you know it, do you? The prison where my father was incarcerated and robbed of his life.
He says laughing.
Why are we even like this is just such a weird conversation to be having? Kazuma-sama.
Well, thank you. I'll pay a visit to the laboratory later today.
Quick. Urinovsky. I want to thank you
What for?
for being a friend. For this. Safeguarded the soul of the Isogi clan.
Well, it is a famous sword that's been in your family for generations. My only slight regret is I never got the chance to draw it before I returned it to you.
Kuruma is said to have been forged by a master swordsmith with the Sungo States period. I come from a long lineage of warriors, many of whom were expert swordsmen.
Well then, you're a chip off the old block, I'd say.
This blade, Kuruma, is a symbol of the Isogi clan's honor and might. Apparently, one of my father's apprentices even took the blade's name for a surname.
Really? Karuma. It does sound familiar, but formidable, that's for sure.
Is that a reference to like a character from
Not that I know of.
original trilogy?
No, not that I know of.
16 years ago, when my father was a visiting student here in London, he had this sword forever at his side. Which is why it means so much to me that I have it by my side here now, too. And that is all thanks to you.
It was an honor. Kazuma?
Now I have preparations to make for tomorrow. Perhaps I said a little too much.
Kazuma, you've changed.
No, Ryunosuke, I haven't changed at all. It's you who've changed.
That's very cliched. I completely understand the resentment of Lord Van Zieksen given what happened. But the fact is, those events in this case are, well...
Unrelated? Is that what you have to say? How can you be so sure?
What do you mean?
Never mind. The man is the Reaper, and it's for that reason that the Inspector was killed. I'm going to prove as such in court tomorrow by whatever means necessary.
I can't let you do that, Kazuma.
I know you'll do what you have to as a lawyer. But I'm sure I don't need to tell you I won't be taking any prisoners in the courtroom.
Would expect nothing less.
Also, I just looked it up. It's supposed to be a reference to the Von Karmas.
Oh. Okay.
Karma. That's how you would say it in Japanese. Karma.
Okay.
Until tomorrow then, in the Old Bailey.
Be careful looking that stuff up.
I figured it'd be a safe bet.
Okay. Forensic laboratory, I assume?
Yep. I mean, I thought as much as well before even looking it up, but I feel like you were going to be like, well, the Von Karmas are German. And I'm like, I don't know, it just makes
No,
sense.
I wouldn't have said that because they're only German in the English dub. This place really is creepy, isn't it?
Well, being a dead room, it's probably full of the spirits of the dissected. But actually, there's a rather pleasant, pleasing scent of roses in the air. Well, being a dead room, the coroner probably needs a bold scent like that to mask the odor of death.
Iris? Do you think we could change the subject?
Listen, I'm vibing. I like what Gory's done with the.
What was that?
You really don't have to sharpen your scalpels,
Dr. Gory.
especially if you buy like 5,000 of them a month or whatever.
I don't know, I wouldn't call that a scalpel.
But she has a scalpel on the other hand. It's a cleaver and one and a scalpel.
I think she was sharpening the cleaver.
There.
What?
That noise before.
I was sharpening my tools. I'd be dead meat if I didn't properly keen edge on them.
Right.
I didn't keep a keen edge on that.
When following the collagen fibers in that dermis, an expertly sharpened scalpel cuts like cheese. Would you like a demonstration? Oh, yes, please. I'd love to see. Then, I think you'll do nicely.
Huh? No. No, I wouldn't do nicely at all. I mean, maybe some other time.
I'm not gonna lie. I vibe with her. Like I would be, I would be like Iris, hands down. I'd be like, yeah, actually.
I'd just
please.
be like, here's my arm.
No, I don't want her to cut me. Like, I'm sure she has a corpse. Like, she has Gregson. I'm sure.
She doesn't have
Be like-
Gregson anymore.
Just pop that bad boy out. See how sharp that knife is. Like, that's dope.
Tisk.
Was that a tut? Well, we
It was
came
a
here to ask
tut.
questions, so...
Oh,
Oh,
man. I love her.
table and a set of sharp tools when you consider each... Okay, this is the same. I wasn't sure. Some of these are different, some of these are the same.
Oh, yeah, 'cause she had all these dolls. To the office.
Here, this part's different.
That's Mama's dissection table. It's too high for me, though.
It is.
If I fell from a height in that height of my sleep, it would really hurt. What, you mean you sleep in here? Autopsy work is very involved. It's usually too late to think about going home when I'm finished. But I have bad dreams when I sleep here, and I always end up falling onto the floor. So I'd like to exchange that table for a lower one.
Maybe you should just go home.
How old is she?
I believe 19? 19.
Oh, look at her. That's
I was
cute.
worried that it was going to be a spoiler what she looked like, but okay.
It doesn't matter, does it?
Nah, not really. This part's the same.
Umeboshi plums. Yes, let's assume there's something completely innocent like that.
Ah, that jar you're looking at up there contains monkey brains. Oh my! The composition is similar to the human brain, so they make for interesting study material. And in the next jar along, we have monkey.
No more monkey anythings. Please.
And if you say so. Oh dear. The time when I still thought it was just some pickle with my boshi plums seems like so long ago already.
I don't know, let her talk about her monkey organ. She was excited.
I want to talk about the monkey organs. Can I please hold the jar of monkey organs?
I'm
please?
squeamish, but I would just be like,
I'd be
no,
like,
no,
dope.
go on, please.
Yeah, dope. Super cool. Yes, show me.
Completely scar me. I am okay with this.
This is your interest. Like, people are allowed to share their interests if it doesn't hurt anybody else. Monkeys don't count. They're already dead.
Salt and pepper shakers, and actually salt and pepper on them. I should probably spend a lot of time in this room, I suppose. Prep for meals here. Life goes on, when you're surrounded by death. Oh, that one's just identical.
Bam, bam, bam.
Crow. Haven't twitched. They went the taxidermy ones. I'm afraid you're gonna say that. Trying to tell myself they're just sleeping with their eyes open. After your eyes, put something like your Daruma doll on display in the office. And that one's the same too. Look at this, magnificent display case, cherry wood. Western cabinet makers, really skilled. Here we go.
It's 10 people.
Pardon?
It's made from the bones of 10 different people, all mixed up together. Some of my best work.
I was admiring the case, actually. The scary skeleton inside is something I intend to ignore as best I can.
You're strange. I wonder who's the strangest.
She's not strange,
She's invested in her
Quirky.
work.
This looks different to before. This looks
Like, if
different to
you-
before.
Of course, Mr. Naruto. Miss Gory's a young maiden. Like, if you were to talk to me excitedly about your career, I wouldn't be like, "Oh, you're such a weirdo. You care about your career."
You're such a
Well,
weirdo. You made that book out of the skin of 10 different people.
Oh, that's so dope. Yes, let me see. Let me see. Let me see.
I call it the dodecachron. I've ruined it.
You tried. You tried.
Go read the line.
She has all such charming little dolls. And they're like around her place of work. Look!
Oh yes, you're right. Perhaps she's not so strange after all.
They're how I practice.
Sorry?
Mom always say that operations and dissections require speed and accuracy. So I take out my needle and thread and stitch 3 new dolls every day.
Ah, right.
I use to make livers or kidneys or intestine. But Mama told me to make something more friendly instead. That's quite different to what I'd imagine.
That would be dope. Somebody make me a stuffed kidney or liver that I would then put right here so people could see in the middle of the stream.
We have actually met before. That's also not very safe handling of sharp tools.
It's not.
I'm a lawyer, if you remember.
It's also problematic that they're sparking. That means that like they're like for as much as he's cleaning them, they still probably have a little rust to them.
You're not dead yet.
What?
So Mama says I wasn't allowed to cut you open. She's so strict about things like that.
Well, good. Dr. Saith has some scruples, at least.
Oh dear. It looks like she's not interested in talking to us, for the time being anyway.
For the time being? You mean until we die? Hope that's a way off. Sorry, but I wasn't planning on dying anytime soon.
Yes.
Surely there's some less drastic way of making her listen. Okay.
I guess we gotta show her something, right?
What do you want to show her?
The autopsy report.
Dr. Gory, we actually came here to ask you about this.
He was very good.
Good? Sorry?
His skin didn't snag my blade once. And very little mess. His joints dislocated easily and his muscle tissue was a pleasure to work with.
That's rough. That's rough.
We can skip those details.
I really like. I definitely. That's a little much for me. I was very uncomfortable reading those lines. Like that's their friend. Like I understand.
I mean, he was their friend. Now he's just
Yeah.
a pile of dead cells.
You should still treat the bereaved with respect. Then like
It's an
Yes,
autopsy. You have to.
I remember. Yes, I remember performing this autopsy. What can I help you with? Like not like oh yeah. It was so
Listen,
easy
she
to
probably
sew
has,
his
like,
eyelids shut.
She probably has like no social skills.
Clearly, but still, like I was with her until that. To be completely honest, ugh.
But there is one thing about the report that's caught my attention. You don't seem to have recorded a time of death.
Oh.
Are you still not with her anymore?
Yeah, no, she's not my type physically. Like I like her as a person, but like, yeah, no, you know what I'm into.
That's
Fair.
not my fault.
Oh, that made me jump.
Then please tell us what happened.
You're into it, Shady? I mean, same.
I mean, y'all are allowed, but I sent you pictures.
So, why doesn't this autopsy report include the victim's time of death then? It's really
Ludmila from Room Factory 5. Just letting everybody know, she's top notch.
It's really the most crucial detail.
I was told not to write it.
What? By whom?
Male Strongheart, Lord Chief Justice. He came here.
Lord Strongheart came.
He said that from the witness statements about the gunshot and other evidence, it was obvious. That man clearly died at 5 p.m. on the 1st of November when the gunshot was heard. But that's not the time of death you wrote on the report. You didn't write anything. Was there some reason you didn't include it?
Dr. Gory, if you're hiding something under Lord Strongheart's instructions, then sooner or later you're going to go to the same way as your mother.
Hmm? Give it here then.
That's awfully brave of him threatening her when she's like so willing to cut him open alive.
Yeah.
What's she scribbling so furiously?
There.
You've written...
What she's written? Tell us.
Indeterminate.
But
What do you mean by that? Why was the death indeterminate?
When the specimen was brought in, it was still fresh. So the time of death could have easily been coincided with when the gunshot was heard. But there was one small discrepancy.
What discrepancy?
There was some fried fish in the pocket of his overcoat. And that fish had started to rot.
What?
If the victim liked fried fish, he presumably liked to eat it before it went off.
Well, yes. What are you really trying to say?
It's possible that someone tried to manipulate the apparent time of death.
Manipulate the... Is that even possible to do?
Oh yeah, just throw the corpse in the refrigerator.
Theoretically, if you were to chill the body in ice, you could delay the onset of putrefaction, sorry. And if the overcoat wasn't on the body at the time...
Then only the fish would have started to rot.
Today's science, it's not yet possible to determine if the body was chilled or not.
But today's science is advanced enough to let you freeze a corpse, it seems.
Why do you need science to throw a body into a freezer?
You need a freezer?
I can't believe today's science has gotten to as far that lets you freeze a corpse. It's like, yeah, you can freeze anything.
But surely... to chill a corpse like that would require an enormous electrical refrigerator. Don't imagine many households in London are equipped with such a device. No, definitely not. But maybe a factory? Or some other special places? I don't recall seeing any factories or such like on Fresno Street, though. I wonder if the inspector's body had been chilled somehow. What might the actual time of death have been?
I do have to say I love that his love of fish and chips ends up being like a saving.
Yeah, it's the one thing that helps find his true killer. Also, whoever killed him didn't know that he ate fish and chips and just shoved them in his pocket. Like, that's literally his character trope.
I couldn't say for sure. But at the most, it might have been a day earlier.
No.
In other words, it would corroborate your previous deduction, Mr. Naruto. That Inspector Gregson was killed a day before his body was discovered at a different location.
Did you inform Lord Strongheart of this possibility?
He simply said that there were no electrical refrigerators of that size in the vicinity.
Oh yes, one other thing. It's something the governor of Barclay Prison told us. He said that your mother, Dr. Scythe, was responsible for confirming the death of the professor after his execution.
The professor.
Apparently, you always enjoyed listening to your mother's stories about her work, so we were wondering if we might know something about what happened 10 years ago.
That's not all Mama did.
What? Sorry?
My mama carried out the autopsy of Clint Van Zeeks as well.
What? Really? The brother of Lord Van Zeeks, the professor's final victim.
The idea of carrying out an autopsy on a member of the aristocracy was completely unthinkable back then. But the detective in charge of the investigation insisted, and it was miraculously authorized. That detective being Inspector Gregson, of course.
Quite an accomplishment for one man.
The autopsy provided the vital clue we needed to arrest the killer. And Mama was there for that historic event.
What does all this mean? You had a sneeze?
Cough, actually, but thank
you.
You know, that amazing autopsy happened right here in this very room. The professor and Clint Van Zeeks. They both spent their final moments before the burial on that dissection table there. So this lab, Mama's lab, instrumental in some of the country's important events.
She really is proud of her mother. I wonder if you'd tell us more about exactly what happened back then, Dr. Gory. Okay.
The professor's execution was Mama's first big case. She had to be in attendance at Barclay Prison's execution chamber and sign the certificate to confirm the convict's death. Mama is the best coroner in the world, you know. I was so proud of her.
But the execution didn't actually take place.
No, and worse still, Mama actually helped with the jailbreak. I didn't want to know. Oh dear, you found out recently. I believed in her, in Mama, but now I wonder if I'm starting down the same path as her.
You mean because you admitted the time of death on this autopsy report? That's because Lord Strongheart forbade you from including it.
Just like Mama. I'm sure she was coerced by somebody, too.
Yes, that's my feeling as well.
There's no doubt that there are powerful forces at play 10 years ago. The execution couldn't have been staged without a lot of people at the prison knowing about it. Obviously, the prison governor must have been on it as well. The big man with the little handcuffs, according to what he told us. He was tricked by the chief warder. He said he knew nothing about it. Of course he said that. I'd say the same thing.
Just who was behind that jailbreak all those years ago?
Cap.
You mentioned the autopsy of Clint Van Zeeks.
It was at a time when carrying autopsies of murder victims was pretty unusual, very unusual. It's still not a practice that's observed in our country even now. It turned out that he was the professor's final victim, and when the autopsy was performed, Mama was present, although only as a secondary assistant. The person leading the procedure was called Dr. John H. Wilson. That's right, my daddy! There was one other person present, the primary assistant. He was a visiting student from the Far East.
Wait, a visiting student?
It must have been my father, Eugene Mikitova.
I had no idea Professor Mikitova had been involved in something so important.
But the outcome of that historic autopsy was the discovery of a vital piece of evidence that led to the capture of the professor.
Look at that smile.
I love her. She just needs to know not to talk about the recently deceased, like, in front of their for people who are bereaving them.
Listen, you weren't even fazed by Gregson's death. Come on.
But I was pretty fazed when she talked about how easy it was to cut him up into tiny pieces. Like that.
I don't think she
that's a
cut him
bit
up
much
into
even
tiny
for-
pieces. That's not really how autopsies usually work. That's how they came to identify Jen Shinosugi as infamous mass murderer. Do you happen to know anything about that piece of evidence? Can you tell us any more?
Would you like to see the records for yourself?
Well, would that be alright?
What's the point of keeping records if people can't look at them?
Why you laugh so hard?
It's just Ryunosuke being like, yeah, can I? Am I allowed?
Well, I mean, he doesn't even say anything like every other time somebody's like, hey, would you like to see this? He's like, of course. This time he was just like, wait, can I?
Well, it's just because everybody's been giving him the runaround on this entire case, so somebody finally being like, yeah, sure, here's the information you're requesting. He's like,
They're filed under V at the back of the cupboard, with all the other records from the last decade.
Thank you.
why are they filed under V?
Van Zeeks?
Oh, I thought we were
C.
going
Van Zeeks.
I thought we were going for Asogi.
No, it was the
The autopsy report
autopsy-
on Van Zeeks. Got it.
Yeah, Clint Van Zeeks that proved Professor blah blah
I'm back on it. Let me turn the light on because it's getting real.
blah. That's strange.
For what, Mr. Naruhodo?
They aren't here. There's nothing under Van Zeeks.
There must be.
Perhaps somebody took them away.
No one's allowed to take documents related to the professor case out of this room. You're right, they're gone.
Well, when was the last time somebody looked at them? Do you remember?
It was... Oh yes, I remember now. It was 2 years ago. A consulting detective came one day to say that he'd like to see the records.
No, you don't mean.
Herlock Sholmes was his name.
Deep down, I knew that was coming.
Do you think he stole the records? Oh no, surely not, Iris. That can't be right, can it?
Iris?
Bruno. I hope you don't mind, but
What is it, Iris?
I've just remembered something very important I have to do. I'm going to have to leave you now. Oh, this is very sudden, Iris. Well, we'll come with you then. Oh, no. There's no need here. We're going to take time here. Bye for now, then. Good luck. Wait a minute, little girl. Me? I remember now. You've been here before, haven't you?
Have you, Iris?
Yes, 2 years ago when the detective came. You were with him, weren't you? You're a living specimen then, too.
That's the way it usually works, yes.
Was I? I really don't remember. Anyway, sorry, but I must dash.
Wait, Iris?
I'll brew up a pot for you when you're home.
What's the matter with her? She's behaving really strangely all of a sudden. Well, in that case, we won't keep you any longer either.
It's been quite a while since I've had any visitors. This was really fun. The next time you come, I'd prefer it if you were ready for dissection.
I can't make any promises, sorry.
I mean, she said she'd prefer it, but like she'd take you if you were alive.
I'm not gonna say it. It's a bit strange that the records of Clint Van Zeek's autopsy have disappeared. But I think we've asked all that we came to ask now. God, I don't think we can get through the next room.
Yeah, probably not.
Why don't we go there and we can save there?
Sure.
That's not where it is. Where is it? Fresno Street.
That one.
Oh yeah, I remember which.
Ooh.
Actually, wait. This might be a short room. If this is a short room, no, it might not be that short. It might be like half an hour, probably 20 to 30 minutes.
Yeah,
It's probably 20 to 30 minutes. So I'm gonna guess.
it's fine. We've hit our contractually obligated 3 hours.